That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Project Power, the 6th film directed by Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman, which will be available to stream on Netflix as of August 14th, 2020.
Should I try to tell the story?
Tell us the tale, sir.
Okay, the film revolves around a man named Art, who's played by Jamie Foxx. Mm-hmm. He's ex-military. He's looking for his daughter, who has been used as part of an experiment and kept away from him. So he has flashbacks of him driving with his daughter, getting into an accident, and then someone taking her. So we see sort of flashbacks of that. The film starts with a man sort of like corralling a bunch of drug dealers in New Orleans to pass out this new drug called Power. Mm-hmm. And the man's name is?
It's Biggie, played by Rodrigo Santoro.
So Biggie has these like local drug dealers in front of him. He's handing them these cases of this drug, like this designer drug. One of the drug dealers, played by Machine Gun Kelly, is asking like, why would we do this? Because he's offering it to them for free. Newt. He doesn't get an answer, but cut to Jamie Foxx finding Machine Gun Kelly's character Newt, mm-hmm. and trying to like shake him down for some information. Mm-hmm. Newt looks very different than he did the scene before. Mm-hmm. He looks like his body's been ravaged, so it would appear that he's been using the drug. So the drug Power, it comes in like a glass capsule, mm-hmm. and it has to be activated. And what we understand is that the drug sort of enhances like natural abilities within whomever takes it, but it's very risky. It appears that it's like there's a 50-50 chance that you will either have like enhanced abilities or you will literally explode.
And those abilities only last for 5 minutes.
They only last for 5 minutes. There is sort of a montage of someone, the one man, Booney, what's his name? Biggie, trying to explain it. And they explain that it's like, they show clips of like different animals. So like an armadillo is the thing that rolls up. Mm. Like, protective armor or speed, camouflage.
Thermoregulation.
Yeah. But yeah, so those are sort of the powers a person can get. When Art meets Newt, Newt takes the capsule and turns into like a ball of flames, mm-hmm. and starts to attack Jamie Foxx's character Art. Art ends up killing Newt. Mm-hmm. He moves on to a young girl named Robin. Mm-hmm. So we find Robin is this younger black girl. She's in high school, mm-hmm. it would appear.
Played by Dominique Fishback.
And she is out here selling the drug. We find her selling to some kids who end up robbing her. And then Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Frank, mm-hmm. shows up to kind of like fend them off of her. Mm-hmm. And we find out he's a member of New Orleans PD.
Yes.
And he's kind of in cahoots with Robin because he buys power from her and he uses it. And the reason Frank uses it is because we see like in clips, like newspaper clippings and news footage, that local criminals are using power to sort of enhance their criminal activities. Mm-hmm. So Frank thinks that the only way he can combat the criminals is to also be on power. Okay. So Jamie Foxx's character finds Robin and basically says like, you need to get me to like your next person up because mm-hmm. I need to find my daughter. Mm-hmm. Well, her next person up was Newt, who's dead. But Robin was given a number to call if ever she's in trouble. So she does, and they tell her, come to this grocery store, go to the meat section and ask for alligator wine or whatever. Mm-hmm. They take her back to a room, and then Art sort of breaks in. And that's when things ramp up, mm-hmm. because Art ends up like following them. There's another plot point where there's like a drug cartel leader from somewhere in South America, this woman, who is either interested in power or she's been told about it and they've brought her in. Either way, she's in New Orleans for a demonstration of what the drug can do. So this demonstration is happening, and Art and Frank, Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's characters converge. Mm-hmm. Things go down there. They end up chasing good Biggie, mm-hmm. which leads them to like the manufacturing site, which is a ship called Genesis.
The good ship Genesis, yes.
And that's where we meet that lady.
Gardner, played by Amy Landecker.
She seems to be kind of in charge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's a showdown between her and Jamie Foxx's character, Art.
Because they are holding Jamie Foxx's daughter hostage, and they're also getting ready to disembark from the port. They're ready to move on to a new city for testing.
Right, which we'll describe in a second. But there's a showdown. Jamie Foxx's character is about to be killed when he decides to pop a pill. Mm-hmm. And when he does, he has like the ability to control water.
He has a few abilities.
It's very.
It seems like
we'll talk about that too. I was very confused what his power was, but it seemed like he controlled the rain, which somehow stopped bullets.
His popping off felt a bit like Jean Grey in the X-Men. Just like
this ambiguous, omnipotent power. Yeah. But he ends up defeating who he needs to, but he ends up dying. But his daughter has the ability to revive people. Mm-hmm. Even though she's not on the pill. So she revives her dad, and they move on. The end. Okay. Let's go through your notes, because I don't have mine. I'm rough today, clearly.
Well, let's talk about what we liked.
I liked how the film looked.
Yeah, so Joost and Schulman. Ariel Schulman is, of course, the older brother of Nev.
From Catfish?
Yeah, because their first film, what they directed, was the documentary Catfish.
Did you tell me this already?
Yes, I did.
Well, I had forgotten.
Well,
wow.
Wow. They also did Paranormal Activity 3 and 4. They did that film Nerve with Dave Franco and Emma Roberts.
That app game thing? Okay.
And Viral, I believe, was their last film. So they like Machine Gun Kelly. He was in Viral and Nerve. He was in an episode of Catfish. So this film... something I liked about Nerve also was the look of the film, which kind of ended there on that. But this was shot by the same DP, Michael Simmons, who also did The Last Halloween, the David Gordon Green version. Okay. Look at the film, music selection.
I really liked the music. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Really liked Dominique Fishback as Robin. Loved her chemistry with both Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It segues into predictable territory, but I really liked her chemistry with both of them, and I really was hoping for more time, like between that of Eddie Furlong and Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2. I liked seeing all three of them on screen. The screenplay written by Mattson Tomlin, who also has written the new Batman that'll come out next year. They reference Henrietta Lacks in the film because, of course, you might have seen the Oprah Winfrey television film, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, who's was used as the first to create the first immortalized human cell line, but without her permission to use her DNA. And the girl that's captured, Jamie Foxx's daughter, is played by Kyanna Simone Simpson, and she was in that film as well.
Oh, interesting.
So I think that's an interesting connection. But I really liked the first half. It kind of had a vibe of Good Time, that film with Robert Pattinson, and also his chemistry with a young black girl that goes off the rails. But this is, of course, a lot more genre. And then compared to other films where we've seen Jamie Foxx play a cop recently, like Sleepless, I think this is much better than that. I think he does a great job. Joseph Gordon-Levitt doesn't have as much real character development other than that he's this cop that becomes bulletproof when that's his power. I guess reptilian would be the advanced power. Compared to something like, I liked Looper better.
Okay. With
him as a cop assassin or whatever. And what about what you didn't like?
I didn't understand the pill. I feel like for a movie that's almost 2 hours long and everything's revolving around this drug called power, I didn't really understand what its function is. I didn't understand the entity that's creating the drug. Like, what is their purpose? Like, clearly the science of being able to enhance people's natural abilities would be very valuable. Mm-hmm. But we understand that they go from city to city testing it. So that's why they're giving it to these drug dealers for free, because they want to have these dum-dums take the drugs and see what happens. But I didn't understand their abilities, and I think that's the most interesting part. Mm-hmm. Well, so what's the most interesting part of the film? The actual drug and like how it functions. Mm-hmm. I thought Art's daughter.
I think
because her power, I'm not like I don't understand if she's a mutant and she has this power and they're harvesting it from her, or if they're testing it on her to see how can we make it last forever.
That's kind of a glaring question I have. Is it didn't rightly explain or well enough for me to remember even why she was selected and how she was. There's some murky backstory about Jamie Foxx as an ex-soldier, and I don't know if it was my brain just filling in the bits that would have this make sense to me, but I came away thinking like, was he experimented upon, like Manchurian Candidate almost, and then whatever happened to him, he's passed this DNA onto his daughter, and it has exhibited this way in her, and they've discovered that.
Right.
Or was it? I was reminded of old Stephen King films, like Firestarter came to mind, where there's this child that has this power to generate fire, but it's because she is the convergence of two parents that had weaker powers. Something similar to that.
Yeah, I would have really liked more explanation on that, because for a film that's almost 2 hours, there's just a lot of like dead time where it's like Jamie Foxx trying to go here and go there, and then it didn't.
It isn't without some great set pieces. Again, with Machine Gun Kelly on fire, I think is it?
Yeah, the initial scene with Machine Gun Kelly fighting Art, I thought looked really cool, because Newt, Machine Gun Kelly's character, when he takes the pill, he turns like a ball of flames and he's running around his apartment. I thought that looked really good.
Yeah, it did. It's lacking a certain subtext that would make this have some power for me. Them experiment, for lack of a better word. Like I was reminded of Overlord, about the Nazi experiments, and I wish there had been more direct social subtext or some kind of context about what was happening here, an experimentation on humans.
Well, Overlord's a much more rich film.
Right, and it's based on
which
something
I would recommend.
Actually horrific that was already happening and exaggerates it. As far scientifically of what was possible, of course. But I like even bringing up Henrietta Lacks, I think that there could have been some kind of discussion, even if brief, about what kind of populations were flooding with drugs. Because initially...
Yeah, because why are we choosing New Orleans? I mean, they say they go to multiple cities, but it's like, we see New Orleans, so yeah, why did they choose New Orleans?
Because I thought this is a metaphor for the opioid crisis. If this had been made a year later, I think the filmmakers could have found an interesting way to intertwine the George Floyd protests that are a backbone of that.
Sure.
With cops and communities facing off, being able to use this kind of drug. But really, I think I was just mostly annoyed at the capsule itself, which looks glass, and there's just too many questions I have. The drug cartel lady, when Rodrigo Santoro was trying to sell the drug to her, and she says something like, "This is really pretty vague language, but it's not telling me anything." And one of the lines I think he said...
That's how I feel about this film.
Right, was it... He was just selling it as it gives you the power to renegotiate your reality. But I don't even really see that as what transpires in this film.
Right, yeah, it's too big. I think a better comparison to this film is the other Netflix film we saw where it's like The Purge, kind of.
The Last Days of American Crime.
Yeah.
That movie's terrible.
It is terrible, but I feel like this film's closer to that than Overlord.
Sure.
With the look and feel of it. I think this film is superior because of the strong performances, and the story makes more sense, even though it's very vague. And
it is very vague, but for at least the first 2/3 of it, I felt, I'm not sure if
I was engaged in that.
I was engaged, and I was like, I'm not sure if I'm quite predicting where it is, and I think it's just really in that third act where it drops the ball, where it loses its power.
My last 2 points are, the film feels very sparse. Like, I had several notes about how, like, there doesn't seem to be anyone in New Orleans, because it's set in contemporary time, and as far as we know, there's no, like, post-apocalyptic type environment. So there are no people in New Orleans. Everywhere we go, it's just like, one person here. It just feels very sparse.
It does.
And maybe that was a function of the production, cost and timing. But yeah, it feels very empty.
It does feel empty, and it has a really good cast, I think, but even wastes some of those a little bit. Like Courtney B. Vance, is he only in one scene?
No, he's in two, because when he takes his
right.
bag. Frank's gun and badge.
Right. And it's like, well, I think we could have front-loaded this with a little bit more exposition and characterization. And I think some of those would have been easy answers to fill.
My last gripe is the person who wrote the rap lyrics. So, Robin, she wants to be a rapper. Mm-hmm. And there's a kind of a really cool scene where she's in class kind of like dicking around, like not paying attention. And the teacher's like, you know, like, show me what you do want to do, basically. Like, he tries to call her out and embarrass her, and he's like, well, then get up here and rap then, if that's what you really care about.
And she shuts it down.
So she does.
It's pretty good.
But the person who wrote all the rap lyrics, what's their name?
If I'm saying it right, Chica.
Okay, I thought that Robin's lyrics, like the writing, was very strong. So, Kasika or whatever did a great job. I thought the person
Kasika.
Was that her name?
Chica.
Oh, Chica.
Chika.
Oh, Kasika is that fucking sour cream.
She's in the film. She's Keela. She's the student sitting next to her.
That's her? Yeah. So she's a very talented writer. I was taken away by the lyrics. Like, I thought they were very good. But the delivery that flow was a little whack to me.
You were very critical of her.
Well, no, not the actor was fine. Her performance was fine, but I think her performance of the rap lyrics was not the best.
Sure, I think in that scene though.
I still didn't think.
Really, I think she was.
She was more Cardi B than Nicki Minaj to me. Like, I couldn't understand everything if there weren't subtitles, I wouldn't have known what she was saying. Anyway, we could be done with this. What would you give the film?
I think 2.5 out of 5 is fair.
I would give it 2.5 out of 5 as well. Ta-ta.
Bye.